What do you do when faced with the impossible? When the fight seems endless and life feels like it's testing you every second? It's in those moments, at rock bottom, that you start to realize something. Challenges aren't obstacles, they're the key to your transformation. They're not something to fear, but something to embrace. Because it's exactly when you're being pushed, squeezed, and tested that you begin to grow. That's the turning point. Real strength doesn't come from ease, it comes from adversity. If you truly want to grow, you need to understand that constant challenges aren't life's mistake, they're its essence. And deep down, when you stop running from difficulties, you'll see that these experiences shape you in ways nothing else could. Ready to uncover the true nature of growth? Let's go! Ever thought about how pride might be your biggest weakness? That feeling of I know best, resisting the new because it's uncomfortable, clinging to patterns that no longer work. It might feel like strength, but it's really a poison keeping you stuck while the world moves on without waiting for you. Nature is clear about one thing: those who don't adapt disappear. This applies to species and to people. The problem is, you probably confuse adaptation with weakness when, in reality, it's the ultimate sign of intelligence and resilience. Blindly resisting change doesn't make you strong, it makes you stubborn. But let's be honest, it's tough to admit when pride is in charge. It's sneaky, acting like it's protecting you, but all it's doing is keeping you away from opportunities. It's that voice saying, I won't change because it's always been this way. But always doesn't guarantee success. It's just a weight you carry without question. Think of the times your resistance to change cost you a chance to learn, grow, or even thrive. How often have you hidden behind I don't need this out of fear of looking vulnerable? Accepting change isn't surrender, it's equipping yourself for what lies ahead. So here's the question: will you stay chained by pride, or will you cut those chains and finally move forward? Be honest, how many times have you used fear as an excuse not to act? It's not that you don't know what to do, you do. The problem is the story you tell yourself, the what if it goes wrong narrative. But here's the truth: the fear of change isn't real. It's a myth you created to justify staying stuck. Change doesn't come to destroy you, it comes to test you. It asks, are you ready to be more than you are today? And what do you say? I'm not sure. But that I'm not sure is just the voice of comfort whispering that it's better to stay where you are because it's familiar, even if it's suffocating. You think avoiding change is a form of safety, but it's the opposite. What feels safe today might be your downfall tomorrow. That stable job you hate? It could vanish. The comfortable routine you cling to? It's weakening you because it demands nothing of you. Fear of change only exists because you see it as a threat, not an opportunity. And here's the hard truth: while you cling to the familiar, others are growing, taking risks, and becoming unstoppable. And you're stuck, watching life pass by. So, what's it going to be? Will you keep feeding the myth, or will you face what scares you and prove that fear doesn't control you? Here's a truth few dare to admit: the challenges you see as impossible are, more often than not, created by your own mind. That's right, it's not the world telling you that you can't do it. It's you, with your excuses disguised as logic, building walls where there are only hurdles. Think about how your mind reacts when something seems difficult. First, it hunts for a reason to quit. It's too complicated. And if that's not enough, It brings in reinforcements, exhaustion, fear of failure, the "I'm not good enough" speech. All of it is you sabotaging yourself and turning small steps into massive walls. But challenges aren't enemies, they're a gauge of your potential. When you face something hard, it's the universe asking, how far are you willing to go to be better than yesterday? Instead of responding with strength, though, you respond with excuses. Now, imagine flipping the script. Instead of seeing a challenge as something to stop you, you view it as something to shape you. That's when the game changes. Every obstacle stops being a wall and becomes a stepping stone. If you keep mistaking challenges for impossibilities, you'll stay stuck in the same place. But if you learn to face them head on, you'll discover that the strength you've been looking for has been inside you all along, just waiting for you to call it into battle. Here's the mistake most people make: believing that you need perfect conditions to achieve something great. Let me be clear, if you're waiting for perfection, you'll die of waiting. Life doesn't hand you perfect moments, it hands you situations. And it's in those situations that you have to take the first step, even if you're scared, even if the ground feels unsteady. The problem with people who wait for perfection is that they never start. And by never starting, they never find out how far they could have gone. What you need to grasp is this: action, not perfection, builds success. With every step you take, you gain clarity, adjust, learn, and course correct. Most people are paralyzed by the fear of making mistakes. But the real mistake is doing nothing. Imagine if the greatest figures in history had waited for the right time or the perfect moment. Nothing would have happened. The bad news is that perfect timing doesn't exist. The good news? You can create your own opportunity. It doesn't matter how chaotic your situation feels right now. If you don't start, you'll drown in a cycle of excuses, frustration, and regret. So, if you're waiting for the perfect scenario, the harsh truth is you're already lost. The solution is simple: act now, in the chaos, in the imperfection. That's what separates mediocrity from excellence. You feel fear every day. It shows up in all forms: the fear of failure, of judgment, of not being enough. It's always there, trying to chip away at your confidence, trying to paralyze you, to make you doubt yourself. The problem is, most people let fear win. And guess what happens? They never do anything. They stay in their comfort zone, in what feels safe, and in return, they live a life full of regret. Here's the key: fear doesn't go away. It'll be there every time you try something new, every time you push your limits. What you need to do isn't wait for it to vanish, but learn to act despite it. Because, here's the thing, every big breakthrough, every monumental achievement, comes after an internal battle with fear. And that's what you need to understand. Fear is a natural reaction, not a death sentence. Picture this: every time you feel that pit in your stomach, you treat it as a sign that you're on the right track. Fear is your ally, not your enemy. It's telling you that you're about to do something big, something outside your comfort zone. Don't let it intimidate you. Use it as fuel. Each time you conquer fear, a piece of your confidence solidifies. You start to see that you're capable of more than you ever imagined. But that only happens when you decide to act in spite of fear, not when it disappears. And here's the secret: fear will never leave, but you can learn to live with it and even use it as a tool to grow. True freedom lies in conquering fear daily. The question is, will you keep hiding from it, Or will you start using the strength it gives you to reach your full potential? Excuses. They're one of the biggest obstacles to your growth. You know them well, don't you? I don't have time. I'm not feeling it today. Things didn't go as planned. How many times have you used these excuses to justify your inaction? How often have you let the comfort zone win because something seemed a little harder or more challenging? Here's the harsh reality. Every day is a new test. And the problem isn't the difficulty itself, but how you deal with it. The excuses you tell yourself reflect your lack of commitment to your goals. They're a way of giving procrastination a foothold, letting fear or laziness creep into your mind. And what happens when you give in to those excuses? You lose opportunities. You lose time. And most importantly, you lose control over your own life. You need to understand something important. Life won't wait for you to feel comfortable. Opportunities won't wait for you to have it all figured out. The perfect moment will never arrive. What will truly make the difference is your decision to move forward, no matter how you feel. It doesn't matter if the day isn't perfect, if you're tired, or if the circumstances aren't ideal. You just do it because the only excuse that matters is the lack of action. When you commit to ditching excuses, when you position yourself as someone who doesn't give in to the temptation of procrastination, you'll feel the weight of your own results. You'll see the impact that discipline has on your life. And most importantly, you'll be the person who built, not the one who hid. So now the question is, will you stop fooling yourself with excuses, or will you take the responsibility to transform your life once and for all? The truth is simple. You're shaped by the battles you face, not by the victories you win. Every challenge, every hardship is a hidden opportunity. If you're still running from pain, you're wasting the chance to become stronger, more resilient, and more complete. Don't fool yourself into thinking life should be easy or that suffering is something to avoid at all costs. Suffering is a valuable teacher, and only when you learn to work with it, not against it, do you truly evolve. Embrace challenges not as curses, but as the only path to growth. Now, it's up to you to decide. Will you keep running from your limits, or will you face the next battle with everything you've got? Only time will reveal the impact of this choice on your life.